Hi, this is Zach Meir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Wednesday, the 13th of November. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which is still did the ring below the 200-day moving average there, 8100, and also below that support line projection from back in May, which is at 8070. Below 8070, looking for a potential rolling over of this market back down to August support there towards 7920. But at this stage, only really a proper end-of-day close back above the 200-day moving average, and 8100 really delaying or defying what looks like a market which is rolling down. Next up is the DAX, and this has been in a happier place in the recent past, and still just about managing to stay on the 50-day line. We've got the uptrend line there from the floor of the rising trend channel there from this time last year, so that's towards 19,000, above 19,000. We're looking for that October resistance line there to break at 19,500, and then for this market to head up to the top of the channel there, 20,600 perhaps by the end of next month. RSI either side of neutral 50, so not really helping very much, but we do have a rising 50-day line, which is a help. Worst case is we've got to test the 200-day line again, as we did back in August, and that's currently 18,300. Next market is the Dow, and here we've had a stellar run, but we just hit that line there, the red line there, the sort of the extra upside line, one could call it. That has a potential move up to 45,000, but we're back now at the top of the old target area, 43,600 or so. End of day close back below 43,600, and we're looking for this market to try and fill that gap down towards 42,300 and the 50-day moving average there at that same level. So I suppose a reversion to the mean would imply that we would have this market hitting and testing that 50-day line once more. Moving on to the situation of Bitcoin, which has been absolutely fantastic in the sense that we had the RSI 50 rebound ahead of the move through 70,000 to record highs. Nice little bull flag there, just above the old record high area of 74,000. And now it looks like we're going into another bull flag here above 85,000. The next level up here is that line of resistance there from April, which is heading towards the magic 100,000 level. Looking for that by the end of the year. I suppose if we're really lucky, we might get that by the end of this month. Worst case on the downside now is that we've got to test the old $74,000, $75,000 resistance area as new support. But looking pretty strong given how far we've gone. And the other interesting point at the moment is that the rally seems to be being fired by not retail investors, but actually by short covering. Moving on to gold, and here probably not that much need for short covering in the sense that we've come all the way back down to the basically the 200-day moving, well, the uptrend line area from back in February. Still way above that 200-day moving average at 2,400, which is slightly ominous given the lay of the land at the moment. But the longer we stay below the October support there, 2620, the greater the risk of a move down to the old August resistance around 2560.70. So that's where we are at the moment. Need to recover that 50-day line there, way up at 2660 to get the big rally back on track. RSI in the mid-30s, so still a bit of leeway in terms of being able to go lower. We're not oversold yet, and so therefore, at the moment, just judging by that, 2560.70 would be a potential logical low point on this current move. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with Altona, where there was double direct to buying from memory, and here the shares rising through the 200-day moving average properly now for the first time in a long time. Obviously we had that spike back in July, but bit of a turning point here, gapping through the 200-day line after a gap higher and a key reversal up last week, so this is looking like a much stronger situation. 2.2 pence the top of that rising trend channel base, and we're looking for that while we're above the 200-day moving average around 1.47. Ideally, we don't have to trade below the 50-day line around 1.35. On to Creightons, which I don't think anybody looks at apart from me, but here we've got a situation where the stock has delivered on its technical promise, so looking for the shares to hit 32 pence. They've done it again today, after hitting the top of that broadening triangle base. We had a gap close buy signal. We've had everything quite positive, and looking for a new leg up now towards 45 pence by the end of the month, while we remain above the 50-day line at 29 pence. Onto a stock which is benefiting from the massive rally in Bitcoin, and really should be much higher, I suppose, given that we are not back up to the highs of the year, and Bitcoin was much lower then. 3.8 pence the target by the end of this month for Coinsilium, and we're looking for that certainly while we're above the resistance on the way down back in the spring, around 2 3/4 pence. 50 and 200-day lines both rising there, so that is very encouraging, and perhaps suggests that we can get much more than 3.8 pence over the near term. Moving along to the other, a Trump trade stock, which is Ferrexpo, and here doing very well after gapping up through the 70 pence level. We've held the gap, tested it as support, the top of it as well, which is encouraging, and looking for now Ferrexpo to hit £1 by the end of this month, while we're above the previous target there at 77 pence. Next up is Georgina, where the market seems to be slightly divided between the good and the bad here, but the share's up nearly 3% today, so it's a poke in the eye for the bears. We were already looking for a turnaround here with a bounce off that support line projection from back in July. That level there around 8.4 pence, and above that we've been looking for the shares to go back to 10 1/4 pence, the top of that little channel there. Overall, by the end of the year, looking for up to 13 pence in the top of that broadening triangle from August, while we remain above 8.4 pence. So a better situation there on Georgina. On to Genedrive, and here you can see we've got a rising trend channel base. Had to modify the upside there, but it looks as though the top of the channel there, 4.3 pence. And we're looking for that while we're above the floor of the channel and the 50-day line there at 2.2 pence. Hopefully 4 pence by the end of this month, even though that feels a little bit punchy on the time frame. Moving on to Just Eat, which managed to dispose of or make a $650 million disposal. What's interesting here is, in these situations, is looking to see whether anybody might have successfully guessed something positive was going to happen. We had a gap down back in October, and we had a gap fill buy signal on the 7th of November, so just last week. And so, after the bear trap to a new low, bear trap rebound, we actually had a technical buy signal, which obviously, if anybody had followed, they would have had a decent return. Current situation is that we want to stay above the 200-day moving average of £10.90, and then go for a retest of the best levels of last month through towards the £12 zone. But interesting how, before this really good news, the shares were back at their lows. Moving on to MetalNRG, which was covered yesterday, and looks like the shares have listened to the charting analysis. So we were looking for the 0.32 areas being the floor of that rising trend channel. Top of the channel there, 0.75, which we're looking for, I suppose, by the end of next month or even sooner, given that we are now back above the 50-day line at 0.44. So an end-of-day close above that 50-day line today should take us up to 0.75 by the end of next month or even sooner. Optibiotix is rising at the moment, which is nice after its recent shenanigans. Here you can see break of that falling wedge there at 11 3/4 pence. Above that, we're looking with the 200-day moving average at 19 pence, perhaps by the end of this month or going into the beginning of December. Obviously, the big hurdle initially is the 50-day line at 14.5. Going on to Petrel, and here you can see that shares have done the bulls, they've tried to help the bulls here, and since we've bounced off the 50-day line there at 0.78 above that, looking for the shares to hit 1.5 pence maybe by the end of this year, if we can clear that 1 penny area over the next week or two. Another obvious beneficiary of Bitcoin going through the roof is Tap Global, and here you can see we had an unfilled gap to the upside off the low after a bear trap below the previous support there, around 0.69. The current view is that above the 200-day line there at 0.99, we're looking for up to 1 3/4 pence by the end of next month, and hopefully a bit sooner than that. I think if one looks back, we haven't been above the 200-day line since March last year, so quite a turnaround there. And obviously Bitcoin rather higher than it was on previous highs for the shares. Another potential crypto winner, and also from the Aquis market, is Valereum. We've been on the case here since 3 or 4 pence, and it looks as though we may still be on the case when the shares get to 16 pence, hopefully by the end of this month, while they remain above the floor of the channel there at 11. So above 11, looking for 16 on Valereum. Finishing off with the stock, which has had hundreds of false dawns in the recent past. This is supposed to be the last dawn, if that makes any sense. Here, ideally, the shares fill the gap there up to 0.36. Above that, but we would then be looking for the 200-day moving average, 0.5 pence plus, by the end of this month. Let's see if we can stay above. Recent resistance at 0.3 on an end-of-day close basis is below that. Would rather hurt the bull argument. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.